howdy, welcome to the channel. It's your girl Leslie, also known as the Hot Mommy, and today I'm going to teach you how to elevate your space. If you've been looking for ways to make your house feel like a home, stay tuned. This video is just for you. With me. So glad you're here on the channel again. If you're new here, I'm Leslie, also known as the Hot Mommy, and this channel is all about lifestyle. From travel to fashion to food, motherhood, and everything in between, I'm here to share my hot life in Los Angeles. And if you're not new, hey howdy, it's good to be with you again. Today we're going to be talking about our spaces. It's not something that I've talked about yet on this channel, but it is something that I love. So if you haven't already, be sure to hit subscribe so that you never miss any of my weekly uploads. Oh my goodness, you guys, welcome to the house that Hot built. I feel like I have wanted to make this video for such a long time. I love talking about space and interior design and how to make your house feel like a home, but I haven't quite had the opportunity or the moment to sit down and make this video. But today, that changes. We are finally going to jump into it. Before we jump in, I want to give a little bit of background story about me, how I grew up, and what the spaces looked like that I lived in growing up. So first and foremost, I always lived in apartments. I only lived maybe in one house when my parents were together until I was young, and I literally remember living there until I was like 4, maybe 5, and then moved. And then I lived in apartments for the rest of my life until my husband and I rented our home together and until I bought my first house. And so I know that sometimes living in apartments for some people can feel like, you know, they don't necessarily belong to you. They feel temporary. Some people feel this like idea of, why do I need to make this space feel so much like mine when I'm not staying here forever? But as somebody who kind of felt like that growing up, but had a mother who did not feel like that, I learned very early on to understand the power of making your space feel like home no matter what. We are in a space kind of like in this country where we've signified adulthood by how we pay to live in our spaces. And I want to tell you right now, point blank and period, whether you rent or whether you own, you have a place to live and you should make that space feel like your own no matter what. I don't know why we've gotten into this like debate in America where it's like, you know, renting is worse than owning and you should own, and if you don't, you're not an adult or you're not using your money wisely. I honestly think that is a bunch of bullshit, and I think we need to stop spreading that sort of like fake gospel. Renting is fine. I'm going to be very frank with you. I have no problem renting, and I think that if you want to rent, it comes with such a stability that's very different from home ownership. I don't think that we need to try to make people feel a certain way about not owning a home or not wanting to. It's really fine. I think it's okay. And the reason I own a home is very simply because I needed a certain amount of space and I wasn't able to find a home to rent to get me that certain amount of space. But I don't think that there's anything greater about owning a home than there is about renting. I think everybody in this country deserves to have housing and should be sheltered. And so that's that. Now, when it comes to your space, I also think that sometimes people just really don't know where to start. And then you get in a house or you get into an apartment and you're kind of like, it's this blank canvas. How do I make this thing feel like it belongs to me? And how do I make it representative of my personality? As somebody who recently bought their home within the past 5 years, the one thing that you have to understand is you cannot decorate and style and make a house feel like yours the day you move in. It's just not realistic. And I think the moment you kind of get that into your head, it becomes a little bit easier to live in your space and understand that it is always going to be a work in progress. Your space, very similar to your wardrobe, is something that transitions over time. It is something that grows with you. It's something that will ebb and flow with where you are in your life. And when you get comfortable with that, you'll understand and like enjoy more of the process of putting your space together, rather than feeling like it needs to be done. If it's not done, nobody can come over. I can't live here. And so I want to teach you just some tips and tricks that I've learned and that I've applied to myself in my own space to make it feel like home. A couple years ago, I had the opportunity to film a pilot with HGTV that was all about home design. I was given that opportunity to do it alongside my sister, who is a professional interior designer. She owns a company called Material Methods Design. And so if you are in the market for an interior designer who's a Black woman with taste, reach out, because trust me, she knows what she's talking about. But I say that to lay the foundation in that I do too. The thing about design that you have to understand, I think that similar to style on the internet, we've all kind of fallen into this space where everything should be white, or it becomes this lack of individuality. And your home should be a reflection of you. I am somebody that needs a lot of organization, and I am somebody that needs things to be in their places just so that I can function. But I do also want my home to feel welcoming, and I want it to feel lived in. So some of the ways that I'm able to do that. One thing I think that you should do from the start is understand the type of space that you want to live in. Do you want to live in something that is a little bit more industrial, which means that the materials and things you have in your home may be like hard edged, or steel, or the colors you may use will be a little bit darker, or like kind of metallic-y and gunmetal, silver and things like that? Or do you want something that's a little bit more eclectic, right? So that you have a mix of patterns and a mix of fabrics and things, and sort of like, different kind of touches that bring forth that eclectic kind of feeling in your home. I am somebody that really likes to mix kind of like a traditional, and I would say probably a bit of bohemian into my house. So I like to have, plants. I also like to have a bit of cultural art, but I definitely still want to make sure I have things like big dining room tables and big framed art. And so it took me a while to figure that out. Growing up, my mom was one of those people who is, I would like to say, a thrifter. She's a lady who loves a tchotchke. Because of that, I am not a lady that loves a tchotchke, okay? Like, girl, get some cute art, get a few pieces, and then wrap it up. One of the primary ways that you can elevate your space is with art. And I think that this feels a little bit daunting to some people, because when we hear art, a lot of times we think, I can't afford that. Like, girl, how am I about to get art? I'm here to tell you that does not have to be the case. The easiest ways to bring art into your home is via your telly, okay? Y'all have so much art inside of your phone in your photo app that you forget about. And what you need to start doing is printing your photos. Like, that is the perfect way to bring art into your home, and also to personalize your space. So one of the things that I like to do with pictures that I've taken is to get them large scale printed. You can see right here, these are like pictures in my house that I've just had printed of my kids. This not necessarily professional photography. I've taken these photos with my phone, and then I very simply like edit them in Canva, make them black and white, set the size, and I take them to Staples or to Office Depot and have them printed large scale. And then I find big frames to put them in. Specifically the frames at IKEA, the Riva frame is what I use. Keep uniformity in the house, and so to make it so that you're able to see the pictures in large scale. So often we take all of these pictures and then we forget about them. So I'm encouraging you to look through your phone, look through your vacation photos, the places that you've gone that you've loved. Bring those photos out of this space here, stop holding them hostage, and show them to people. Show them to your visitors, and that is like the perfect way to bring personality into your home, and also doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. Those IKEA frames are like $20 a piece. To print out your pictures shouldn't cost you any more than $10 a photo, and right there, you've got art. When it comes to getting art in places like Target, Home Goods, TJ Maxx, and things like that, I try to lean towards things that are very neutral in color and not super like identifiable. Meaning that somebody wouldn't walk in my house and say, I saw that at Home Goods too, right? That's probably not gonna happen. And the reason I do that is because if you're gonna get art like that that is mass produced, you still want it to look a bit original in your home. And so I try not to get pieces that are gonna be like overly colorful, or just kind of look like instantly, that anybody kind of made it and you picked it up. When you lean away from those things, it makes your art seem and feel as though it's something that's a little bit more original, and also something that may have cost you a little bit more. That's why I try to lean towards things that are like monochrome in color, very basic in their frame choice, something that kind of goes into your space very easily, but doesn't look like, oh, I saw that in so-and-so's house too. So when you see pieces like that, Bring those in, but mix them in with the personalized touches, and then they also don't look as basic and just regular kind of inside of your home. Try to keep your frames and the way that you house your art in the same sort of family, right? You don't want to go with a frame that's super antique and then have it next to an IKEA ripper, right? It may not, the styles don't always match up, but adding your art and putting it into frames is a way to certainly elevate it. We want to get past, just kind of throwing your pictures and your posters up on the wall with a piece of tape, and thumbtacks. And I will be the first person to tell you that framing art is expensive. It is not cheap. If you're going to get custom framing, just prepare yourself to spend a pretty little penny on it. But I will say that if you buy a piece or a print, from a space like Etsy or Society6 or art.com, the way that you can elevate those pieces that may have been more affordable is to get them custom framed. I am a person that likes to look at Michaels. They usually always have like some sort of framing deal, so keep your eye out for that. That's a good way to get things framed. And if you're someone that really does enjoy kind of like an old school traditional style, go to a local antique shop, go to a thrift store. They often have a lot of pictures that are in frames, and you can remove the pictures that are already in them and frame the art that you have or your own personal photos and bring that into your home. And it's a great way to elevate your style. So the next way that I love to elevate my space is by transferring things into cuter bottles. I do think it is a great way to make your space look a little bit more elevated and more sophisticated, especially if they're going to be on display. So even when it comes to something simple like this is the spray bottle that I use to water my plants. I put it into this amber colored glass, one, so that it can kind of fade into the background in my house rather than keeping like a big water can or something, because that's not my personal style. I make sure that these things that are useful and are necessary still blend into my home seamlessly. As you can see, I'll just slide it behind here and it flows with the decor easily. It's not a distraction in my house. That way people know that your house is really a fully functioning place, but it doesn't have to show the function happening. Even if that's just putting your sugar, in a different kind of sugar dish. If that's making sure the soap in your bathroom is in a different kind of dish. Those tiny little things are the perfect ways to elevate the style in your home and make it look more sophisticated, and it doesn't necessarily have to be expensive. Now when it comes to furniture buying, let me tell you, that is like the one thing that they don't talk about as an adult. Nobody told you that it was going to be so expensive to buy a table, right? You just thought I could just go get a table. Everybody needs a table. No, but a good table is going to cost you. It's going to cost you. And so to me, one of the best ways to elevate your style is to buy great furniture. When you buy quality and good furniture, it's an investment that can stay with you for a long time and is unlikely to be something that you have to replace often. I am wholly of the belief that if I just spend the money up front for the good thing that's going to last, it's much better and a much better use of my funds than trying to like piecemeal and buy the cheaper thing, in hopes that like it won't break. Ultimately, in the long run, sometimes you may end up spending more money than you needed to if you had just bought the maybe more expensive thing to begin with. That being said, I also do enjoy saving a little bit of a coin, okay? So I would say this, look at store outlets. I got my dining room table at the Restoration Hardware outlet, right? And a table that could have easily cost, upwards of $4,000 or $5,000, I was able to get for a fraction of that cost. I'm talking like 70% off. You see what I'm saying? And so now I have this super nice table, but it didn't necessarily cost me a crazy amount of money. Now, again, you work this into the budget that you can afford. But when you look at these type of places, don't be afraid to go in there and, look at something, even if it has a small little tiny scratch or a little bit of a ding on it. It's okay, because sometimes those things can give your furniture and give the pieces in your home a little bit of character. Have you ever walked into somebody's home and you're like, man, everything in here just feels like lived on, but it still looks really, really nice? Those are the kind of things that I really love in spaces. And sometimes I think that we're afraid of the imperfections, thinking that it will make our things look tacky or run down. But that's not necessarily the case. And so when you go into the outlets, look for good couches and good chairs that are still of quality, even if they may have like the tiniest little scratch. Crate and Barrel has outlets, West Elm has outlets. So don't be afraid to go in there and find something that you're looking for to bring in that elevated feeling into your home that you may not be able to afford at the retail cost. My next tip is to obviously add some sort of greenery, but don't be afraid to go fake. Let me tell you something, okay? Take it from me. I am raising people, okay? I'm giving all my effort into keeping people alive. 3 humans. So sometimes I don't have the time to keep a plant alive. You see this plant? This is the plant that I water. I have 1 more plant that I water and that's it. That's it. Every other plant you see in my home, it's fake. It's fake and I'm not ashamed. And you want to know why I'm not ashamed? Because you can still bring greenery into your space and not have to tend to it other than some light dusting. And I think that's fine. Only do what you can. Some people are horticulturalists. They can keep plants alive, and you know what? More power to them. And while they're keeping their plants alive, I'm going to keep these people alive, okay? I got to worry about making sure kids got food and they're dressed, so I can't also be doing that for plants all the time. But I got my 2 little plants, and I water them, and I do the best that I can. You see what I'm saying? But don't be afraid to bring faux plants into your home. And honestly, the bigger, the better. I think that it is so cool to have like a big, giant, like fake banana leaf plant in your home because it adds texture, it adds color, and it brings a little bit of life into the space, even if it's not a real plant. When it comes to like flowers, don't be afraid to go into, again, a store like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or your local craft store and put together a little bit of a floral arrangement. You can do those things and then the flowers will never die, okay? And set that in your little entryway. Set it on your dining room table. Set it on your kitchen counter. That little bit of life can easily elevate the space. It can bring a little bit of texture, you know, it can bring a little bit of dimension to your countertop and to your tables, and you don't have to worry about like, oh gosh, these plants are gonna die, or you know, like it's a waste of money. Spend the 20 bucks, get yourself some fake flowers and make a cute little arrangement and put it in a vase. And that already immensely will bring everything up. Trust me. Something that's really big in my home is storage. Again, the aforementioned humans. I have 3 kids. And so for me, making sure that everything has a space is very, very important. This credenza behind me, come closer. It's IKEA. But you wouldn't know that. And you want to know why? Because I added different doors to the front of it. For me, storage is very important. I didn't want to spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on a piece of, you know, storage or a credenza or, you know, a bar cabinet that kids were going to be running into or opening and closing constantly. But I did need something that I was going to be able to house, you know, games in and other toys. And so things like that, you are able to still elevate and still allow your kids to play and have the things they need without feeling like you live in a preschool. That to me was something very important. I think sometimes people are like, oh my God, my kids have all these toys. How can I make it look cute? Or they'll say, how come your house doesn't look like there's kids there? Because 1, you teach children where to put things. You just teach them how to put things away. Sometimes y'all's house is a mess because you didn't teach your kids to clean up. That's it. That's really the basis of it, if we're being honest. Kids do not come here put together. We have to teach them. And so the way that I keep my home elevated and looking stylish all the time is by making sure that the girls always know that there's a space for their things, right? So in cabinets like this, they know that there's boxes that are labeled with Legos or Barbies or kitchen stuff. And so they never just feel like everything is just thrown all over the place. Storage baskets, you know, cute boxes. Those are ways to keep organization in your home while also maintaining its style and maintaining your peace. And so don't hesitate to figure out like a storage option that can work within the style of your home. The biggest thing I remember when I come into people's homes is often how it smelled when I was there, right? A home is going to be full of scents. It's going to be the things that you cooked with, trash, if you have animals. It's just like a natural breeding ground for smells. And so to me, one of the biggest things that is important when people come to my home is that it's inviting in scent as well. And so the way that I love to do that is to just have a signature home scent, right? So that when people smell it, they're like, oh, you know whose house this smells like? It smells like Leslie's house. But in a warm, like fun, just welcoming kind of way. So I love love to try to like switch my scents up by season. Obviously, you know, most people do that. They want to have like their pumpkin spice candles or, you know, like their Christmas candles. Now, I'm not someone that likes my home to smell really, really sweet because I am a cook. And so when you're somebody that cooks a lot, you don't want your cooking to kind of, you know, overpower your scent, and you also don't want it to mix. It can be very weird. I actually really enjoy like a good incense stick, and I usually like to keep things in my home that are sort of woody and, you know, kind of like a sandalwood kind of feeling, largely because it really like soaks up a lot of those scents and kind of, you know, flushes them out. And it's really just something I enjoy. I use that on my own body scent as well. I just love like a sandalwood woody thing. So incense are a great option for that. Also, I think incense can be really beautiful. Like, you can find great holders to put them in. And again, with the kids, I cannot always have candles going, right? I like to have them going when they're not home, but kids be running, and so I just don't want open flames around. I'm trying to keep accidents to a minimum, but incense are a great way. Another way, obviously, is to use, you know, plug-in scents that work really well. I find for me sometimes that the really strong scents can be overpowering, so I try to get something that's like fresh. So I either do like linen or cotton or something like bamboo and wind, you know, things like that. Nothing that's going to overpower the environment. And I put them like strategically in places where they can't be seen, but it's kind of like you walk by suddenly and the freshness just comes to you. Anytime I use plug-ins, I try to use things that are more on the fresh side, like nothing that's going to be, you know, anything very potent or, you know, something like that that again can overpower in the room. Finally, if you're somebody who really wants to go for the highest of elevation, companies like Hotel Collection or Aroma 360 have diffusers, but those diffusers can really be connected to your HVAC system, and they can then pump the scent throughout your house at all times. I have not reached that like final step, only because I haven't found a scent that I want, but that actually is something that I plan on having done in my home so that I can constantly just have the scent going throughout. And that's what you experience when you're in hotels. That's why when you go into certain hotels, you're like, man, it smells so good in here. And that scent is actually being pumped through the HVAC system in the building so that you never like don't smell that. And that is something you can bring into your own house. And so if that's something you're looking for, I would look into those companies, because a signature scent in your home is just as like, you know, elevating as it is when you have one for your own self. Anytime somebody smells you and they're like, you smell so good, you always smell good, I want the same feeling when people come into my house. And so having a signature scent is the prime way to take your home to the next elevated level. Okay, early in the video, I talked about my mother's love of tchotchkes and how it was not passed down to me. However, that being said, I do think that there are still special ways that you can bring like trinkets and little pieces into your home to give that sort of touch that you need. The way that I think that you can do that is, again, with your travels. So often, you know, we travel and we go and we pick up these random souvenirs and then they go into a box and we never see them again. A great way to incorporate that, obviously, is to bring them into your home and to display them. Whether it's like on a bookshelf, you know, whether it's on shelves inside of your kitchen or in your bathrooms. Be willing to put those personal touches, because they add a level of elevation that you can get that you're not going to grab if you just run into like, you know, Home Goods, Hobby Lobby, At Home, wherever the stores are that you're going to just get like those kind of random pieces. There's nothing wrong with getting them, but when you're going someplace or when you have a collection of things you like, you know, if you're a person that loves matchbooks, I'm that person. Anytime I go to a restaurant, if I see a matchbook, I'm gonna grab it. So I take those little matchbooks and I put them like into a vessel in my house so that people can kind of see the places that I've gone and the things that I've done. That's like a great way to add a personal touch into your home and to elevate it. In the same way that, you know, when you're getting dressed, you have like the 3-piece rule where you have on, you know, shirt, pants, shoe, and then you add the final piece of a jacket or a vest. That's what accessories and tchotchkes and those little pieces can do into your home. But sometimes you have to be willing to take something off or add something. And your home needs to be accessorized in the exact same way. You can do that with books. You can do that with picture frames and photo albums. You can do that with statues and little stuff like that. So if you're somebody that does have a collection, or you like to take pictures, or, you know, things like that, find a way to display the things that you love in your home. And those personal touches are usually the greatest ways to elevate the style in your space. Okay, y'all, we've come to the end of the video, and I hope that there was enough tips in here to help you to learn how to elevate your home no matter what kind of budget you have. Whether you're going and balling out and you can buy anything you need, remember you still want to have some sort of frame of mind for when it comes to decorating. So figure out your style, and for that I say read some books, find some pictures. I am a big, huge fan of Pinterest and looking through styles that you really like. That's a way to discover what you enjoy about people's homes, rather than kind of looking at things and just deciding like, oh, I want my house to look like somebody else's. Piece through and parse through and find your own style in the same way that you would for your clothing. Don't be afraid to check out outlets. Remember, those are great places to find quality pieces at an approachable cost. If you need to find big furniture, it's my suggestion to go to the outlets. They may have discontinued sofas and chairs, tables and things that you would not otherwise find, and it's a great way to get something that you need at a lower cost. When it comes to tchotchkes and little elements that go into your home, remember to bring out your personality. If you have a collection, put it on display. Don't let it live in that box anymore, because then we forget about it and we don't even see it. Also, don't forget that there's nothing wrong with fake plants. Fake plants can still bring life into a space. You can make beautiful floral arrangements in vases. You can put fake plants in pretty pots. Don't be afraid to have those in your home because you're thinking like, oh, I can't keep a plant alive. No, but you can dust, honey. You can dust. It is something that can add a little bit of texture and a little bit of dimension into the space that you have, which will only cause it to be more elevated. When it comes to storage, think of pretty vessels or different things that you can change out in your home so that we know that you live there, but you can incorporate them into the space without it looking overwhelming. If you need a watering can, great. Make sure that it's something cute that can go on a pretty little table next to your plant if you're doing real. If you need to spray your plants down, change things into different bottles. Get tiny little bowls to put your sugar in or things that you normally use. Something for your keys or your wallet, you know, things like that. All of these things can be simply used and found in places like thrift stores, Amazon, Target, Home Goods. No matter your budget, you can style your home in a way to make it look hot and chic and elevated. As always, I appreciate you for being here, hotties. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you never miss any of my weekly uploads. Give your girl a big thumbs up on this video and share it with somebody else who you know would love to be a part of the hottie gang. Thanks for joining me, and I can't wait until I see you next time. Bye.